Okay, I know I say this in every one of these
Chat, I love Twilight. I'm sorry. I fell asleep watching it the other night. Oh, I got an orange popsicle. Hold up.
types of videos that I make, but I'm dead serious. Twilight was and still is a cultural touchstone of the
It really is, bro. It changed the world.
late 2000s. One that I personally missed out on because in middle school I got called homophobic slurs for just holding the book in my hands.
Yeah, bro. If you were a guy, you like Twilight back in the day, they would call you gay immediately. You couldn't even talk about it. Love Twilight too. In a while.
I hadn't actually engaged with Twilight at all until watching the first film just
The
before
hell?
I made this video, yet
Turns out they were right. But shut up.
it doesn't really matter because I felt like I had binged the entire saga without ever actually reading or seeing it. What is there really to say about Twilight that hasn't already been said? Pretty much
T Jacob, bruh. T Jacob in the building. Chat, are you T Jacob or T Edward?
every aspect of Twilight has been thoroughly dissected by others over the course of the last 14 years. People were talking about its cheesy, embarrassing dialogue and romance from the minute it released. I've heard retrospective discussions about the misogyny of the Twilight backlash. Everyone's still debating Twilight's many controversial and creepy ideas like imprinting on a baby. I've heard more intimate details of
What exactly is imprinting on a baby mean to you, chat?
author Stephanie Meyer's personal life than I'd care to know, and now that a Twilight resurgence is happening, we occasionally get
Oh yeah, they're making a new movie.
thoughtful analysis from the now adults who grew up with the series. We all know 50 Shades of Grey started as a Twilight fanfic. I've even heard about the 9/11 to Twilight pipeline.
Really?
So
Yeah. What the fuck? My Chemical Romance? T Jacob? What the fuck? Oh, the
but if
trailer.
there's one aspect of Twilight that has seen some commentary online, but that I think warrants more discussion, it's how Twilight resonated and why it is still remembered to this day.
Before
What
GTA
does
6. 9/11 caused Twilight. They're threatening to release another Twilight, chat.
Twilight represent or
loops.
reveal within our
Come
culture,
on.
big picture? To me, the pervasive appeal of Twilight is obvious, but it also, due to the nature of Twilight, means this
That's how I look in the sun, chat.
conversation is going to be kind of clumsy and awkward. It should be no secret at all that Twilight's primary audience was teenage girls, and maybe
me.
also their moms, but mainly teenage girls. That's who made Twilight turn from a simple book into a phenomenon, but when you actually look at the material of the book, it raises the question, why this book and not the mountain of other romance books lining the shelves? Admittedly, I think this is because Twilight was the only romance book of its time that was willing to meet teens where they were at. Speaking from my own personal experience, when I was a teenager, I was taught that any strong feeling I had was
The acting in the scenes didn't really work, so cheesy and corny, but that's what makes it so good. Is the book pretty good? I never read the book, not gonna lie.
irrational, or in the case of sexual feelings, literally demonic, and that all those feelings were to be kept inside, to be fully repressed. Puritanical thinking and abstinence-only education consumed my small Midwestern town, and I can only imagine
It's good,
that
exactly.
that dogma was, and unfortunately
Who gets picked movie night? Cotty? You got a powerful pick this movie night.
still is much harder for girls to process. Twilight directly contends with this idea. The central theme of Twilight is repression, but that theme is explored mostly through subtext and metaphor rather than being graphic or explicit. Whereas things like pop music exploit sex appeal and insecurity
Bruh, that phase of Justin Bieber is so trash.
graphic or explicit.
Was movie night? No, I'm not. We brainstormed ideas. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Whereas things like pop music exploit
Bruh, he was so corny in this era.
sex appeal
Corruption.
and insecurity as a marketing tactic towards teenage girls.
He has free
Twilight
will.
actually begs them to engage with it in a more, well, literary way. Like most romance novels or just provocative art in general, Twilight is a form of wish fulfillment that allows its audience to engage with what they are societally told not to. This idea is even directly translated on
No fucking vampires. Bro, I bet filming this movie was so sick. They filmed it in Forks, Washington, and there's some just a beautiful nature up there.
to the biblical forbidden fruit symbolism of the novel's iconic cover. The world of Twilight is oppressively moody and dark. The characters are all angsty,
Make the
and
right
the entire
choice. Yeah,
central
don't fuck this
conflict
up.
is just the characters
Which
repressing.
vampires were real? Bro, I have to tell you, Alina, bro, I'm literally a vampire. I'm nervous, bro. Your palm sweaty. Plus, I used to have a Twilight board game too. Well, look, whoop-de-fucking do. Okay, that's awesome.
their volatile feelings. Sexuality has always been an integral part of vampire mythology, but here it's explored through a more modern lens.
I've always
through
been
things
Team
like
Edward,
attempting to repress his near uncontrollable urge to consume Bella's blood. Later in the series, Bella is trying to rationalize having feelings for two people at once, both of whom are
Arms are
alluringly
heavy.
Protective, but also mysterious.
His
and
knees are weak from
dangerous.
something
I also
else.
think it's kind of telling that, at least in the films, this love triangle is between a feminine presenting Robert Pattinson and a more traditionally masculine Taylor Lautner. Again, it's not particularly subtle, but it isn't quite explicit either. Now, does all of that make Twilight good? No. I don't really feel like that's a hot take at this point. Is that a hot take? I would be a massive hypocrite if I didn't criticize this movie for having some really bad and confusing messaging, especially given its target demographic, but I'd also be a liar if I said I didn't enjoy watching it. It's a cheesy time capsule and possibly the most awkward film I've ever seen in my life. It sure reminds me.
Bro, this is my favorite scene, bro. Like, you can't believe this is real. It looks like a parody of it. Edward too. Well, they
enjoy watching it. It's a cheesy time capsule and possibly the most awkward
this one right here
film I've
Bruh, I mean, when she's got painted white toes.
Ever seen in my life. It sure reminds me a lot of being a teenager. I'm sure some will disagree with me saying Twilight isn't quote-unquote good, but I think even Twilight fans at this point enjoy the series in a mostly ironic, tongue-in-cheek kind of way. But here's the thing. I don't think the actual quality of Twilight matters at all when it comes to answering the question, why is it still remembered? For all its cheesy late 2000s charm, I think the initial allure of Twilight is still present to some degree. There's still nothing else like it to this day, at least not to the scale of pop culture relevance that Twilight has. Sure, there were some others who rode its wave, like Vampire Diaries or even something like Warm Bodies, and yes, we've seen the building tension of Twilight see its
Bro, I really do just love like iconic pop culture. I love talking about it, I love learning about it. It was just it's just awful. Did you not like it, Turk? Did you watch it?
Natural release through things like 50 Shades of Grey, or even recently with the 365 Days
I wish we could all get
but
a
there really
time machine and go back to 2013.
Does what Twilight does the way it does it. To this day, its legacy and what it represents in pop culture has not been eclipsed. Sorry. A lightly horror-influenced romance book or movie with thematic and metaphorical representations of tension and repression,
like being waterboarded.
You're such a cis straight white man. Would honestly still feel refreshing today. Let me put it this way. Twilight was an answer to an
Bro, the mall used to be so fun. The mall nowadays suck. You used to go to the mall and it was such a vibe. It was kind of exciting. Now go to the mall, you're like, oh, let me get in and get what I need and get the fuck out.
Existential longing that most are too afraid to speak about. It didn't necessarily need to be good to find its audience, it just needed to exist. The only thing that sucks about that to me is that this is the story we're left with. The biggest irony of Twilight is that it pushes the very dogma that made its themes feel so resonant. It tells you, yes, abstaining from these uncontrollable urges you have can make you feel like an insane monster and make your life a living nightmare, but you should just do that until you're married. Only good things can come from that. I don't know how you could even write a story like this without realizing how self-destructively ironic that is, to attempt to satiate and dissect these feelings while offering no reasonable or healthy guidance on how to navigate them is, well, questionable at the least.
I do feel like the new one's gonna be unwatchable, dog garbage, water, money grab.
Movie or book should be the sole code of ethics.
I'm surprised Robert Pattinson decided to do it after like trying to break away from the Edward character and taking on all these crazy different roles and stuff. Still gonna watch it, yeah, and then going right back to doing it. Must have been a pretty good paycheck.
You live by, and also not to say that practicing self-control isn't a good thing, it's just that I feel like Twilight could have at least given its audience something more responsible or thoughtful than the exact same unfulfilling answers that led those people to it in the first place. Especially when you consider things like the books having to use extensive exposition and lore to explain things like why Edward, a technically 104-year-old man, being with 17-year-old Bella isn't gross. Not to mention
Yeah,
how
that is
creepy
pretty
Edward is
weird.
in general, which no amount of lore can undo.
I like watching you sleep.
In fact, I've heard rumblings that the most recent Twilight book, Midnight Sun, just doubles down on all of that. Or we can additionally consider
more?
something like how the movie version of Breaking Dawn feels the need to largely retcon how disgusting Jacob imprinting on a baby is. How did someone write this down, put it into a book, and then sell it to people? I don't understand. And I don't
Imprinting
think
on a
this is
baby.
necessarily all the fault of Stephanie Meyer.
I never watched
there
that
are
part.
trained
I just like the
professionals who are
first
still
two.
trying to understand the most
Katrina.
effective and responsible ways to help teens learn about subjects like this.
What up, girl? I missed you.
Because talking about this
How's the
stuff
grind
is so
been?
taboo, it seems like an insurmountable task
really
at times.
bad.
You notice how much tiptoeing I have to do to even make this video viewable? Like, no one wants to give the talk. There's a reason we all call it the talk.
Chat,
no one
did
wants
your
to
parents have the sex talk with you, or did you just kind of figure it out on your own?
talk about this shit. But
Kens!
Twilight did,
21
and I think
months,
that's why
tier
we're
1.
still
Thank you
talking
so
about it to
motherfucking much
this
for
day.
the
Damn, do I wish
resubscription.
someone would have came along and done it so much better that it knocked
Thank you guys
Twilight
for the
right
love.
off its cultural pedestal. I mean, who knows, maybe someday, but for now, at least Twilight might still get a conversation started. Hopefully a more productive one than the story itself.